Good day. My name is Shakeba Joseph, and my case study will be on the case Unethical Leadership at Enron. So, just some background information on the case. Enron was an energy and communications company that flourished after the 1988 deregulation of the energy markets in the United States. The company was on Fortune's list top best 100 companies to work for in America for the year 2000, and oftentimes it was widely praised for having significant advantages and viable administration. Nonetheless, the public picture of consideration and powerful authority was bogus, and the organization was not as successful as it appeared to be. Conflict of interest rules were often relaxed to allow executives to benefit personally from sketchy ventures that, in most cases, were drain on the company funds, and it often brought on misfortunes. This practice drove up the price of Enron stock to new levels, and in August of 2000, the stock reached its highest value of $90. Deceptive, or as we can say, unethical practices were not restricted to top executives, and the organization's culture of independence, advancement, and the unreasonable quest for benefits dissolved the moral conduct of numerous Enron's employees. So, to attain unrealistic profit objectives and increase their bonuses, workers were urged, oftentimes by executives, to overstate future assessed benefits from sales. Employees involved in arranging deals were pressured to outperform each other whenever possible. Each year, 15 to 20% of employees with the lowest performance were fired and replaced by new employees. Anyone who scrutinized the unethical practices or conflict of interest at Enron was terminated, reassigned, or normally ignored for advancement or promotion. At the same time, they told the investors and employees to buy the store because it would continue to climb much higher. As executives sold their shares, the price began to drop, but Kenneth Lay, who at that time I think he was the CEO, made appearances to calm investors and assure them that Enron was headed in the right direction. Kenneth Lay promised the public that there were no hidden promises or problems, but as we saw, Enron filed for bankruptcy in 2001. So when I analyze this case, most of the key issues that I found had to do with ethics and the decision making process. And I think that ethics is one of the most important components that decide how companies perform within the industry. These days, I believe that most individuals tend to believe that having ethics makes them weak, which and I find that don't really make no sense. But it kind of provides a deeper conversation. Often, many organizations suffer from groupthink, and because ethics is more complex than we think, it becomes prevalent in decision making. For some, ethics is a matter of conscious or feelings beyond reason. Enron suffered from groupthink, and it is very easy to get wrapped up from unethical behavior because it seems ethical from the standpoint of the executives in Enron. Groupthink is a psychological phenomenon that occurs within a group of people, which the desire for harmony or conformity in the group results in an irrational or dysfunctional decision making outcome. Cohesiveness or the desire for cohesiveness in a group may produce a tendency among its members to to all agree to the cost of this wrongful behavior. This causes the group to minimize conflict and reach a consensus decision without critical evaluation. For example, when they told employees to overstate financial deals, the employees would fully understand their roles and would do it in accordance with what their manager says. But anyone who understands ethics would see it as a wrongful doings that is illegal. For Enron, they all think it is morally acceptable to do this, but as we saw, the stocks fell substantially as a result. So almost every industry has at least a few examples of unethical business practices, and one that I can think of that fits well to this case is Wells Fargo. There has been one massive scandal after another at Wells Fargo, and I remember that from when I came up here in 2016. But in 1981, the bank was involved in one of the largest embezzlements in history, then, with its questionable mortgage practices, the company became a significant player in the 2008 financial crisis. Shortly after, to help businesses recover, Wells Fargo compelled employees to set up hidden accounts in customers' names. That continued until the scheme's discovery in 2016. All these unethical practices cost Wells Fargo billions of dollars in fines. And Enron relates to this because Enron wasn't as lucky as Wells Fargo to stay open. As we all saw, they went bankrupt. But I think that with the decrease in brand loyal customers, Wells Fargo will eventually go bankrupt someday. So the final key issue that I found when I analyzed this case was the fact that Enron did a lot of business bluffing. The moral status of business bluffing is often a controversial issue. On one hand, bluffing would seem to be relatively like lying and deception, and because of this, business bluffing can be um, an activity that is at least morally condemnable. On the other hand, it has often been claimed that bluffing is part of the business game, and therefore there is nothing morally questionable in business bluffing. But Enron was doing the wrong kind of business bluffing because they were a very unethical company with a lot of secrets. Bluffing is advantageous, but I believe that there is a thin line between deceit and bluffing. Continuous use of it can be seen as being untrustworthy to the public and employees. Within the case, there were two questions. How can the leader's influence on organizational culture be used to explain the unethical practices at Enron? And what can be done to reduce this type of unethical leadership in the future? So, my reasons would follow. Leaders within organizations defines and teaches core values. A strong culture is distinguished by firmly held core values that are normally organized, shared, and transmitted by employees. Their influence allows employees to act and behave a special way in accordance with the vision and mission of the company. Oftentimes, employees show respect to leaders because they are the ones that has the most knowledge or inside information about the culture and what the company stands for. In Enron's case, their leadership was just following what they believed in, which is probably the implied vision because the real vision said something totally different. And as such, they encourage employees to have shared visions just like they did. Enron did not have the right leadership because their personal behaviors were exposed, and as such, employees adopted these behaviors. Um, as a tactic, they reinforced accountability and they used ways to hold employees accountable. And by doing this, they have been causing the problem to get worse as employees see it as a hostile environment to work in. An example is when they would terminate or ignore employees for promotions if they disagree with their other practices. So now I'm on to question two. And the answer for this is with the right type of leadership, a positive organizational culture can spread throughout the workplace. Leaders need to be able to encourage a positive organizational culture to keep employees motivated and engaged. Being ethical in the business world means having a degree of reliability, decency, and regard in the pursuit of success. Businesses need to be moral or ethical because it keeps them in accordance with the law, which could be a danger for the business's life if they are carrying out wrongdoings against their employees or clients. And as we see, it hurt the life of Enron because they were carrying out wrongdoings against their employees and clients. Being ethical, likewise, expands their odds of increasing loyalty among customers because if customers feel trust, they will continue purchasing from the business over their other rivals. And one other point to add in them fixing their unethical decisions is that they need a form of corporate government governance which creates a system whereby the rules are drafted with these principles in mind for everyone to follow. Respect of often goes a long way within organizations, especially when they mean what they say and follow promises. Employees become more loyal to the company, therefore reducing turnover rates. Respect does not merely exclude trust because companies need to be honest and transparent to their employees and customers. It only creates an opportunity for everyone's voices to be heard. And as such, anyone would need to open feedback channels to hear more from their employees. They also need to eliminate blocking rules slash inhibitors to build better team membership. Um, Enron suffered from all these three inhibitors. Their executives were dominating. They overanalyze information and make unethical decisions, and they did a lot of stalling and bluffing of results. Once these are eliminated, managers are able to better their tasks, task facilitating rules, which include direction giving, and their relationship building rules, which include supporting and harmonizing the organization so that all employees benefits. But to reinforce proper accountability, there must be three questions that needs to be asked. This would work best, especially to fix Enron's major problems and so that they are better equipped to embark on credible opportunities for the company. Just to reinforce the last point that I made, whenever leaders reinforce accountability in the workplace, they often reinforce accountability everywhere. And in conclusion, business ethics helps to prevent lawless behaviors by companies or their employees, which can damage the company's reputation. It also helps to avoid legal problems and it creates a positive work environment that cultivates strong teamwork and productivity. It helps to give companies a competitive advantage, whereas it creates customer loyalty once they know the brand they support is very ethical in practice. Here ends my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.